Okay, so here we have a side-by-side down the line video of Charlie Woods hitting a driver. The right one is from 2021, and the left one is from last year, 2022, or whenever the last PNC championship was. Okay, so as you can see, you can already see that at setup he's already made some changes. Okay, um, he sort of bends from his hips a little more. Okay, a little straighter back, more angle towards the ball, and this one he's sort of a little bit taller, and his weight seems like it's a little bit more on his heels at setup. Okay, because you can see the relationship between the armpit and the knees, and the shoe is more on top. Okay, whereas here a little more on his toes. Okay, just slightly more bent over. Now the biggest change that he made is in the backswing. Right, first his grip with, from last year is a lot stronger. Alright, you can see how much more that left arm is pronating this way. How much more is pronating in a clockwise fashion, the left arm, due to his strong grip. Okay, and the right one, you can see how the grip is a little more neutral, and therefore you don't see as much of a pronation of the left arm. Okay, it stays a bit more quieter, and it stays closer to his body. So now we take it back. Right, the shoulders are turning a little bit steeper. Versus before, his shoulders were turning really flat due to that left arm pronation. Okay. Now, you can definitely see the triangle that's forming between his arms, and the shaft remains perfectly intact. That's something that Tiger used to do really, really well back in the day. And this one is more of a lowercase y takeaway. That's more of the style of the takeaway that Dustin Johnson uses, Rory McIlroy. But the one on the right, the newer one, is definitely Tiger style. All right. Let's continue going back. Again, a little more depth with his arms. You can see how his arms are a little bit deeper behind. It just tells me that he's turning a little better. His left arm in particular, is more connected due to his new takeaway. That position on the right is pretty much perfect. You can see how much his right elbow got behind him in previous year, and how the club face is a little bit shut at the top, kind of like how his dad used to swing back in 1997. And Now he's a little more in front in terms of where his right arm is in front of his chest, and slightly more neutral glove face. Okay, still a little on the strong side, but that is perfectly fine. These days you want to be a little bit stronger than weak at the top. In terms of the glove face, it's always better to be a little bit more facing the sky than towards the ground. Now, as we start the downswing, notice how much less flexion he has in his legs. All right, before he used to load really hard into that right leg, okay, and then use it to spring off of it on the downswing. And he sort of, let me just get rid of these lines really quickly. Still the same style of transition, but a little bit more mature, it looks like, from the way he took it back, the way his arms are staying in front of his chest. And when you apply the same ground force mechanics and clearing of the pelvis, when you apply the same thing to a different backswing, it just matches up so much better. All right, you can just see how that left one looks a bit stuck. All right, it just looks like the left arm is so far out. Just more gap between the much more gap between the arms. It just looks like the right elbow is slightly more under the left. Okay, here it's a little bit more level with the left arm. So a little better sync, a little more synced up this year than last year. Okay, you can see there how the hands are staying more in front of his chest, his hands and arms on the right side versus on the left side. It's more of a baseball swing on the left side, and the right side is more of dad's old 2000 swing mixed with Rory McIlroy and Lee Trevino and all the good ball strikers in the world that ever played the game. You look at that position, look how stuck the left side looks. Okay, his arm was extremely bent, and the right heel is already flying off into a finished position, whereas on the right side he's been able to sort of maintain a slight more angle on the right side of his shoe, and that just tells me that he's a little more synced up, and his lower body doesn't really outrace his arms too much. It's working more in sync with the rest of the package he has in his upper body. You know, overall it looks to me like he worked really hard during COVID to change his grip first. You can see how now you can barely see the left hand on top of the club at address before you can see the glove hand appear slightly on top. That just tells me it's a super strong grip before, and now it's a lot more neutral. More one piece takeaway, less left arm pronation on the way back. Gets it into a much better position at the top in terms of his right arm, slightly more in front of his chest. And basically just the same downswing mechanics, it's all about the backswing for him, in my opinion. Okay? Charlie Woods for you guys.